Today we've got so much to talk about. We're going to talk about how cruise lines are adapting what Canada released yesterday and changing their protocols for COVID. We're also going to talk about Princess moving cabins again and what is going on with that and what you need to be aware of. Also, what is going on board the ships and just so many updates of really helpful information here. We're going to also talk about the fact that there is still anytime dining available on Princess, on Celebrity, on all of the other major cruise lines, and so I want to talk to you about that as well. Hi there, this is Allison with Let's Go Travel Tips. Today is Tuesday, it's September 27th of 2022, and like I said, we have so much to talk about today. Let's go ahead and get started with the changes that Canada made yesterday. If you missed the news yesterday, Canada took away all of their COVID protocols. It is very nice for people who are wanting to go on a cruise, and so we are starting to hear from people who are booked on especially Princess cruises that either go to Alaska or to New England that include Canada in their itineraries. And so lots of you have let me know that you are receiving the emails from Princess letting you know about this. And one of you was so kind to forward the actual announcement to me. So thank you very much. And it just says updated Canadian health protocols for your cruise. And they are going to be sailing out of Vancouver on October 18th, and this is for a 15-day Hawaii round trip. So this is very nice to know. It says, we are pleased to share that Transport Canada has amended its COVID-19 protocols for cruise ship guests as effective October 1st. As a result, the pre-cruise testing and vaccination requirement for this voyage have changed. So if you have guests that are ages 5 and above who are fully vaccinated, they are not going to have to do any testing for this voyage. To be considered fully vaccinated, a guest has to have received their COVID vaccine within 14 days of embarkation. If you are not vaccinated and you are going to be sailing on these cruises, you need to complete a COVID test within 3 days of embarkation and attest to a negative result. The self-administered rapid antigen test is also accepted. So clearly you're just going to have to attest to it. They're going to say, did you take a test? You'll say yes. Is it negative? Yes. And so if it is negative, but anyway, so that really simplifies things an awful lot. That is also what we are hearing for the voyages, not only to Hawaii that depart from Vancouver, but also if you are departing from Vancouver on a cruise to anywhere else, quite frankly, or if you are leaving from Quebec and going on a New England cruise, or if you are on a cruise that just calls in a Canadian port, because those cruises were also requiring the additional testing. So this really opens things up, and I hope that it makes travel a little bit easier for all of you. So let us know. Now, yesterday morning when I had done my video and told you all that, I just had the statement that Princess and Holland America had both made saying that they were changing their protocols to be in line with what Canada was doing. Since then, Princess has updated their website about the cruise protocols, and so, Canada used to have its own section, but now Canada is included. It says voyages departing from the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Europe. So really the only So let me tell you about all of those. So for those, it is simply if you are vaccinated, you don't have to have a test. And if you are not vaccinated, you just have to either do the antigen or a PCR within 3 days. Very easy to be done. And then also, then they have the enhanced guideline voyages, which are select voyages departing from Los Angeles, Vancouver, and Santiago, Chile. And those are a little bit trickier. So on those, if you are fully up to date and you have received your booster, you still have to do a medically assisted, not on your own, medically assisted test within 3 days, an antigen or a PCR. And if you're not vaccinated, it's the same thing. You just need to do your antigen or your PCR within 3 days of embarkation. So that also applies to people. It says vaccination and capacity restrictions apply if you're not vaccinated. Guests ages 18 and older who are not up to date require a vaccine exemption to sail. Guests 12 and older not fully vaccinated on these cruises arriving or visiting Australia require a medical exemption as well. And so be sure that if you are on any of these enhanced voyages, that you make sure that if you're not vaccinated, that you get that exemption and do that testing. And so make sure that you've got that. And then we also have a section for let me also make it really clear. On those sailings from the U.S., Europe, the United Kingdom, and Canada, those, all of them, you can do the self-administered test. None of those need to be medically observed, okay? Now, on voyages that are departing or arriving in Australia and New Zealand, if you are fully vaccinated, that means that you can do your self-administered test within 24 hours or a PCR within 72 hours, and then you just attest to it. If you're not vaccinated, you're going to need to have an exemption. So you're going to also have to do the self-administered rapid antigen test. They call it the RAT there in Australia, within 24 hours or a PCR within 72 hours. So make sure that you're aware of that. And then the last thing that they have here is Greece. And I don't know why Princess's Greece requirements are the way they are. You know what, it could be, and I have had this thought, all of the different cruise lines have to work with the different countries that they bring people to. And so I don't know if that is what Greece is telling Princess. I don't know. It seems, I wouldn't think that Princess would want to add some extra testing, and it has to be in person and make it hard on people. But then I could easily be wrong. But anyway, whether or not, it doesn't matter. These are what the requirements are if you're sailing out of Greece. And so if you're sailing out of somewhere else and you're calling in Greece, that has changed. You don't have to worry about having a test. But if you are going to be sailing out of Athens, it's a big deal. So if you're vaccinated and you're 18 and above, you can do an antigen test within 2 days or a PCR test within 3 days. The same with people who are fully vaccinated, ages 5 to 17. Now remember that Greece still has the requirement that if you are aged 18 and older to be considered fully vaccinated, you have to have your booster within 9 months of receiving your initial vaccine. So make that clear. And then if your age is 5 to 17, like I said, still the antigen within 2 days, the PCR within 3 days. And if you're not vaccinated, you've got to have an exemption on these cruises. And the same thing, you have to do your antigen within 2 days, your PCR within 3 days. And it is still, testing is only, it says testing is only required for voyages departing from Athens. Testing must be conducted in person with the medical personnel, and the guests will need a physical letter with the negative results. So test results proctored by video will not be accepted. So I'm sure if you do that or you don't have it, you're going to have to be tested at the port. So any of you sailing out of Athens, would you please let us know how it's going if you recently sailed out or if you're going to sail out? We would really like to hear from you, okay? And in my previous videos, I have mentioned, talk to your hotel. I know that they have testing at the Athens airport. There are lots of options there. So, but the way I travel, I would know what I was going to do for my test before I left home. So make sure you've got that covered and figured out. Now, we need to talk about what's going on with the hurricane, and I know that it is so much in the news here, but I have a couple of thoughts for you. So first of all, they showed, like the initial models, it showed it kind of missing Miami and going up the more the coast there, and like we have seen hitting Tampa and that area. This morning I saw another model now that it seems like it's shifting a little bit, so it might get a little bit of Miami. I noticed on the news that over at Cape Canaveral, NASA has moved, like they have taken their Atlas rocket off of the launch pad and moved it back into the VAB, the vehicle assembly building there, just to be safe. And so clearly all over the state they are expecting really high winds, a lot of rain. And so here is what I was thinking about that we need to talk about. And so let me know. I would love to hear from any of you who happen to be on any cruise ship right now. And also if you are going to be on a cruise next week, here's a couple of things. If I were going on a cruise out of Florida next week, I would not fly to Florida without verifying with the cruise line that my cruise was going to sail. Because if you've got like high winds somewhere, it might really affect things. I'm really hoping that it doesn't. Clearly it's going to affect the cruise port there in Tampa, and I think that the main one sailing out of there is Carnival that might be affected. But anyway, there are several sailings that have been affected already by this storm. And so pay attention, like don't go there in case make sure that your cruise is really going to go. Now, if you are on board a ship now, and this would go for any time when you're cruising, if you are on board a ship during a hurricane, sometimes, you're not going to believe this, but sometimes they have to return to a different port. And I know that they don't like to do that because then everybody is in the wrong place for their flights, and then they're in the wrong place to pick up the next bunch of passengers. But sometimes they have to do that. So pay attention to any announcements that you're receiving on board, and then once you hear that for example, that you're going to be returning to a different port, let your travel agent know as quickly as you can, and they'll start moving your flights for you. That is actually a really good reason to have a travel agent. You can just let them know, and then you don't have to worry if your internet is as good enough on the ship to be able to rearrange your flights. Hopefully it would be for everyone that needs to, but also if you can contact your travel agent, they'll start moving things for you so that you can get on a flight wherever it is you're going to end. So just keep that in mind. And also, really, for everyone, I've gotten lots of emails, people worried about this. Don't be worried. The cruise lines are not going to sell you somewhere where you would get hurt. You might have rougher seas a little bit somewhere than you would have had otherwise, but they are very, very cautious, extraordinarily cautious. And so just be aware of that. Don't be worrying about it, whether you are booked on a cruise, if this would happen to you, or if someone that you love is on a cruise right now. Don't be worried. And so I'm looking forward to hearing updates from any of you about that. Now, the next thing that we need to make sure that we talk about, and this is killing me, you guys. So we've got a Let's Go family member that said that they are currently on a cruise tour of Canada Northeast. So they did like the whole cruise tour thing. She said that they booked a stateroom over a year ago aft so that they could have that cabin. And so she said they have now been upgraded to a room that won't convert to a queen, so they are sleeping in twin beds. And she says, this might end my relationship with Princess, which is sad because this is our go-to cruise line. They have got 2 more cruises booked with Princess, and she said they might cancel them. And truly, I'm with you on that. And so here's a few things that I want to talk to you about this, and then I'm going to share someone else's experience as well. So first of all, be aware that everyone says, so you guys give the best comments back to people, but I feel like I need to make you aware of this. So a couple of people said, hey, make sure that your travel agent marks it, or you do not upgrade. And you know what though, you can mark that. But if Princess wants to move you, especially if they're thinking they're going to use your cabin as a quarantine cabin, they'll just move you. And it has nothing to do with the do not upgrade thing. They'll just do it. And so if you have that marked on your booking, then that is really important because then they know just not to upgrade you randomly. But if they want your cabin, they'll move you. And I have heard of several of you saying this. And the amazing thing is so often you all are booked in these amazing cabins that you booked a long time ago. And so booking an aft cabin for a cruise, or very specifically like booking one that's like on the corner so that you have got an excellent view, that's a really big deal to people, and they are moving people out of them. And so I wanted to make you aware of that's going on. And then someone else mentioned that they had noticed that happened on their booking, and so they called customer service and got them moved. One person got them moved back to the cabin that they were in, and then somebody else at least got moved to a better cabin. And so I don't know if this booking was really full, and I am sure that I'm sure that she went down to customer service and said, hey, I don't like this cabin, give it, can we please have our other one back? I am just confident that they did that. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. So another person said that they did the same thing to them, so they canceled their cruise. And I don't blame them. I would too. So they had gotten moved to not such a desirable cabin. And so can anybody say they now, though, are rebooked on the December 10th sailing on the Sky? And so I would like to hear from anybody that has sailed on the Sky Princess lately. Has anybody had their cabins rearranged on that cruise ship? That will help this person know, because they, like I said, they canceled when they moved them out of the cabin they want. And I do get that. And so let us know if anybody is on the Sky Princess or on any other ship that you're on, if they are doing this to you. And I would really also like to hear from you who are sailing on cruise lines other than Princess, because it's clear Princess is doing this. I'm wondering if anyone else is doing this as well. And I can't equate that in my mind quite with like these blocks of cabins coming available on a lot of cruises now. So clearly it seems like they're taking away a bunch of the quarantine cabins. So I would just like to hear from all of you about that. Alrighty, the next thing that we need to cover is we've got someone on the Sapphire Princess, and they had a champagne waterfall. And so I think that is just so totally fun. I know, Jeffrey, it's a waste. Have good champagne. But I just think it's really fun they're doing that. So thank you to the Let's Go family member that sent that little video here. And Gordon's going to tuck that picture in. I think it's a picture, sorry. And then finally, a couple of updates for what's going on some cruise ships. I think this will help you know a little bit what to expect. So we have got Let's Go family members who are on the Majestic Princess on their way back to Australia. She says that the crew on board are lovely, and the only thing that she pointed out is that when you're on the Majestic Princess, or really in any of the Royal class ships, you cannot walk around deck 7. Deck 7, as we know it on the Crown class ships, the smaller Princess ships, does not exist. And I really miss that too. That is why, like when I go to Alaska, I really like the smaller ships. And I would say, incidentally, on the Eurodom that our group cruise is booked on next year, they have that lower level. I can't remember the number, but they have where you can go out on the lower decks and walk around, because you see things differently there. And I really like that. That's why I'm so glad the Sapphire Princess is the one that we're going on our Antarctica cruise, because it's got that deck 7. When we went last time, it was the Coral Princess. We thoroughly enjoyed deck 7. So just kind of be aware of that. If you're going somewhere and you can choose between different ships, make sure you choose the experience that you want. But clearly, like on this cruise, they could not choose. It was the Majestic Princess going. Also, we've got Let's Go family members who are on the Crown Princess, and they did not have smooth embarkation out of Vancouver. And they said it's because 17 employees of the company that Princess had contract with to handle the process just did not show up to work. So clearly that is not Princess's fault. But then this is what I also want to talk to you about. This also a Let's Go family member mentioned that they really miss having anytime dining when they're on their cruise now. They don't like that you have to go in the app and enter a time that you're going to eat. So this is really important. They still have anytime dining. If you would like to eat in the main dining room or a specialty dining restaurant at a certain time, then go in the app and make a reservation, especially for specialty dining. But if you just suddenly decide you want to go eat at a specialty dining restaurant, just walk over and see if they've got table space. If they do, they'll seat you and you'll get to eat there. Same with the main dining room. You don't have to choose in advance what time you're going to eat. You can just walk up and they'll seat you as soon as they can. Now, when we were just on the Regal Princess, this is really funny. They always have 2 lines, at least since the restart. They've got a line for people who have a reservation booked on the app, and a line for people who are just walking up to see if they can, be seated and eat dinner. So on the Regal Princess, usually the line to just be seated without a reservation was shorter than the line for people who had a reservation. And so usually when Gordon and I are going on a cruise, if we know, like usually on a formal night, we will book a time that we want to eat so that we can get it. If we want to do pictures, we can, then we can eat our dinner, and then if we want to go to a show or whatever we want to do next, we're sure to be done in time. That's often what we do on a formal night. But otherwise, very rarely do I make a reservation, just simply because we don't know what's going on. We don't know where we're going to be, like with scenery, if we're going to want to be out on deck at a certain time and see things, or what the ship is going to be offering. And so sometimes when we're on the ship, if it becomes clear that we want to eat at a certain time and be done to run to a show, then I'll book a seating time. But otherwise, we just walk up. So be aware that anytime dining is still there. You can go anytime you want. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody's not worried about making all those reservations. You can just go whenever you want, so don't worry. Alrighty, and I just wanted to let you know, this is a side note, but I'm having massive trouble with my email. My a.larson@dreamvacations.com, all my emails are not coming in. People are getting error messages that they cannot, that they're not, like something like not authorized to send an email to me, and they are not getting to me. So if you have sent me an email and I haven't replied, would you please also send it, I'm sorry to make you do this, to letsgotraveltips@gmail.com. I have contacted technical support. They're supposed to be fixing it, but as of right now, it's not fixed. And so I just am getting very few emails in, and I'm being told by several people that their emails are not coming to me. So please just send me an email there at the Let's Go Travel Tips at gmail.com. That link is below this video in the box. And so hopefully they'll get that resolved really soon, but I didn't want anyone to think that I'm not replying to them. So I'll keep my eye out and let you know how things go with that. I really appreciate all of you. If you haven't subscribed yet, would you please subscribe? We do indeed need you here with us, and we have the best Let's Go family, the best cruising family here, I would say. So also, if you appreciate these updates, would you please give this video a thumbs up, because it actually really does help us. I'll be talking to you all again really soon. You all take really good care. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.